Welcome to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm gonna kick spiritual ass and dudes for my people. On God. Neon nigga for feather me. Yeah, today I'm gonna be talking about psychosis. Psychosis, losing your mind, and the death of the psyche. Where the mind go, the body go too. So the whole thing is like a mechanism. The whole thing is just like a process. Spirit, mind, body, external world. Birth, life, death, conclusion. Uh Spring, summer, fall, winter. The whole thing in itself is just a mechanism. It's just a process and stuff like that. So the same way when it comes to what be going on in your mind start to create these organs and stuff like that, and you the organism controlling all these different organs and stuff like that. Your organs are like your brains. They're like different awarenesses given vital points and vital things to make it so your whole body is like a functioning running machine and stuff like that. That's why a lot of time when it comes to things that go on above the horizon, the same way how it be going on in reality when it comes to the atmosphere above the horizon, the daytime or astrology wise above the horizon, as above so below, as without so within, and all that type stuff, right? That's why they be like, oh, the vital organs is the ones that are more above the horizon, like the heart and the brain and the stomach and all that type shit. It be based upon the energy and the vitality and all that type stuff. That's what a different video. But like, point being is, right, where your mind is gonna go, your body's just gonna follow the actions of what your mind is already doing, and then your mind is just gonna mimic what your spirit is doing. And your spirit is your space, and it's really no shape and form at all. It's just based upon the essence and the substance and the state of being that you in, and you can be in a multitude of different characters, a multitude of different states of being and stuff like that, a multitude of different ways of how you want to live your life when it comes to existence. It's just your specific way when it comes to your individuality and how you want to show your say of being, and the specific subjective point of view of how you want to go about it when it comes to your space and your spirit. That's your soul. Your soul is just your specific way when it comes to your space, your creativity, your productivity, and your specific way of how you want to do it. And then spirituality is just believing in something beyond just yourself. So a multitude of different spaces. So that's multiple. And then when you try to start to look at it in a more singularity way of how to go about it, it just translates into your soul, your specific space, your specific creativity, your specific talents, your specific abilities and stuff like that, your specific state of being and personality, individuality, and all that type of shit. So I'm gonna just be breaking down, yeah, I'm breaking down psychosis, losing your mind, psychosis, losing your mind, and the death of the psyche, where the mind go, the body go. So your mind is based upon the sentience, and that's your first body, and the metaphysics, and then your second body is like the flesh, and then we make the tools, the technology, and the science out of the flesh, which is just the external world and stuff like that. So based upon it being a mechanism and the whole thing itself being like a process, if you already start to kill yourself mentally, that means the mind is already mimicking what your spirit is doing. The psyche is already mimicking what your spirit is doing, and you spiritually evaporating. You're trying to take away your natural essence. You're trying to take away your abilities, your natural gifts and talents and stuff like that. And you giving your power away to the point it gets completely evaporated, and you ain't gonna have no shape and form at all. You ain't gonna have no substance. You ain't gonna have no essence. You ain't gonna be wanting to live at that point. You know what I'm saying? At that point, it's gonna be like a you living to die and then you dying to live type of concept and stuff like that. You don't know if you coming or going. And based upon what your spirit is doing, based upon the observation point of the different thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions that you're emanating, and you're actually trying to give to life and stuff like that, eventually you're gonna start get tired of that and stuff like that. So it's like you making things too dark, you making things too shady, you making things too hidden, you making things too illusionary, disillusioned and stuff like that. You getting caught up into a specific shape and form of how you think it should go, and then you end up draining all your ability from trying to keep on catering to that specific shape and form, how to do it, to where if it's something outside of that, you ain't even gonna know what to do, and you end up losing all your abilities. So you start spiritually evaporating, and then from you spiritually evaporating, you start to mentally evaporate. So look at that as you mentally dying, and then you start to physically die, and then it's gonna start leading to your organs start fucking up, or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like prostate cancer, some type of cancer in your heart, or some shit like that. Goddamn arthritis, certain tissues not functioning in certain ways and stuff like that because they ain't being flexed, because you ain't being mentally flexible. So now your physical flesh and bones start to be stiff and all that type shit. You know what I'm saying? Getting old, deteriorated. You start looking ugly as fuck. You goddamn 24, but you look like you fucking 34. That make no goddamn sense. You know what I'm saying? Like you start aging faster and shit like that. You don't even know how to get back to that replenishing energy of being youthful and actually looking your age and stuff like that. She gonna be man, that shit gonna be looking crazy. It like that man that already leads to, oh, like you like 16 but you look like you fucking 26. That made no goddamn sense. Like, why do you look way older than your age and your ass in high school and you 16 or some shit like that? This is really a whole different video, but like, yeah, I'm gonna go in. So psychosis, hold on. So psychosis is when your psyche loses contact with reality, often with hallucinations or delusions. Now, psychosis is just based upon your psyche. So your psyche is just processes of the mind, and we already know psychosis is a mental illness. So mental illness is just means you're mentally dying slash having a disease, aka always dying with ease or dying out quickly by always paying attention to low hanging fruit in general. So from you paying attention to low-hanging fruit, that's like you paying attention to a monetary gain. That's like you paying attention to instant gratification or something like that. So you'll go for like the shortcut, or you'll go for things that are more temporary. So if it's temporary, that means it's dying out. It's a monetary gain. Oh, it's like money. Money comes and goes and stuff like that. Okay, that's not something that's eternal. That's not something that's everlasting, like the spirit and things of that nature. So you're not trying to create a method. You're not trying to create a potentiality or a possibility so you can be in that space or be in that productivity or be in that creativity again. So if you actually creative, you're always going to create a scenario to where you're always able to capture that same space that you was in again, and you don't have to rely on something like a mental crutch of that specific way or that specific mechanism to do it again and stuff like that. Now, it's not to say that people don't have mental crutches and stuff like that, right? But you can start to compartmentalize what are weak mental crutches or what are strong mental crutches and stuff like that. And the more you're able to make it more mental based and more spiritually based, it's going to be something that's more everlasting. And then eventually you're going to start believing in something beyond just yourself. And from you believing in something beyond just yourself, you're going to be able to add on to the awareness and the attention span and the possibility of you gaining more abilities for something based upon how much you're able to concentrate and put in something into practice. So you being a practitioner of something, and the more you're able to take something that's unseen and making it seen, that's you opening or expanding the horizons of what you're actually capable of and stuff like that. So you ain't gonna get lost into like an ego narc type energy, and you get that's like an ego flying too close to the sun. You know what I'm saying? Like that's it's like that allegory. So when you start flying too close to the sun, that's like you getting lost into a light. You getting lost into a love, or you getting lost into the lust or the validation or like an illusion. You get lost into that specific information, that specific shape or form of how to do it, and you end up building yourself into an ego, which is really you basically giving your power away into like a God complex, basically. So from it being like a narc God complex type of energy and stuff like that, God is kind of like all possibilities. It's not even kind of, it is all possibilities. So from God being all possibilities, oh, you want things to be possible, but in your specific format, but you only want it in a self-serving type of way. You never make yourself of service. You never open yourself to something beyond just your way of looking at it, your subjective point of view. So that's when it starts to turn into like a God complex, and you think your shit don't stink type of energy and stuff like that, when life don't work like that. Just in general, we have a lot of different living things and entities and stuff like that out here that show you, okay, there's other methods than just your specific way of how to do it. Yeah, you have your own subjective point of view and your natural natures, but there's other natures, there's other characters, there's other individuals who also have their own way how to go about it, and then you can make it more immutable or adaptable to your own and other people's ways. And the more you're able to actually make that more relatable in some way, shape, and form with this realm of reality, and able to apply it into a multitude of different spaces and stuff like that, is going to make you more in sync with your divine feminine and your divine masculine and stuff like that. So look at that like, oh yeah, I'm able to apply this in a way of externalizing and internalizing. I'm able to perceive, but I'm also able to receive other things that I already done perceive, or receive other perceptions other than just myself. You get it? But like I was saying before, a mental illness is just you mentally dying, decaying or deteriorating. So it's like you having a disease. So from you having that disease, that's like you being in that specific state of being. Because I know I say disease, and then people gonna be all like, mentioning like different diseases like cancers and stuff like that, and different cysts and stuff like that, when it's like, no, you're already in a lack thereof. Oh, I feel like I'm gonna die. Oh, I feel like this is gonna die out. I'm feeling like I'm gonna burn something out. So let me hold on to this mental crutch. Let me hold on to this thing because it's only gonna be last for so long until it goes away. But it's like you're like you're crutching onto it so bad, and you don't even know how to let the thing go when you know it's gonna leave you at some point. So it's like, it's basically like some energy vampire type of energy. You end up soaking it up for all it's worth and draining all the fruit, all the juices from it and stuff like that, because you know what I'm saying? Like you end up doing like some siphoning type of energy. Like you have to siphon the energy of all its of all of it. I can't even say the word, of all its worth and all its life force. You know what I'm saying? Like you draining all of his life force. You're doing it by force. Just in general, you're draining all his life force because you need that to survive. You need to feed. You always need to be in that state of being of feeding and stuff like that. It's not to say that you ain't gonna be eating a lot of different information. Look at feeding like, oh, you gaining knowledge about something, information, thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. You're always gonna be in that state of being. But when you like depend on feeding too much, that's like a pig mentality. That's like being like a pig. Oh, you're too gluttonous. You're too greedy. You end up overtaking too much. You know what I'm saying? Like you overstimulated, you overly eating, you overly fat. So it makes you fat within the mind. It makes you spiritually lazy and stuff like that because you eating too much food, and it ends up clouding your judgment. You're never gonna have that pure adaptable exercise. You know what I'm saying? You're never gonna be mentally fit because you're not mentally exercising. You're not mentally flexible. You're not, you know what I'm saying? You ain't mentally muscular. You'll have no mental resilience because you got all that goddamn mayonnaise, junk food fat from eating all that goddamn information and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like overindulging. You're overindulging into things too much. So, right, like I was saying before, mentally dying is like mentally decaying and deteriorating, which is like having a disease, aka you're always dying with ease or dying out quickly by always paying attention to low-hanging fruit. So not no high-hanging fruit or some juicy fruit or some new gold that can be everlasting or long-lasting and stuff like that. You always have to drain the energy from something based upon it being temporary and you not learning or you not knowing how to let something go based upon the process. Because the whole process, like I was saying before, is birth, life, death, conclusion and stuff like that. Okay, you need to understand, oh, you have to go through that depth. You have to go in depth within that so it can reach to that conclusion, that end goal, that tail end of something, so you can get back into creating something else after that. You get lost into the depth external world portion or the tail end of something. You want that to last forever, but the thing you want to last forever is temporary. It's going to die out. So you need to be sitting there trying to figure out, how can I utilize different things so I can be back in that space again, so I can create more, so I can show my ability of it being everlasting. Not no, oh, I'm trying to keep some dead ass thing alive. You know what I'm saying? It's like some what they call that, like you basically beating like a dead horse. Like the situation dead, is over, is done with. Why do you keep trying to bring that shit back to life like it's goddamn Frankenstein? You gonna end up making a monster. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, like it's always gonna get taken away from the purity or the original state of being it was in, because it already done died out. Let the shit fucking die. You know what I'm saying? And then it can be brought to life into something better. You can go about that experience or go about that thing, that circumstance in a better mind frame, because you let that other mind frame of what you did in the past and stuff like that through that same experience, you let it die out and you learn from it, and then you're able to adapt it and make it better for the next time. And then that's it. When you try to get lost into a pocket of time like that, and you try to like make it like an esoteric winter time, but you end up freezing it and you stay stuck in that pocket of time and stuff like that, you end up being stuck and stagnant as a spirit, and you never learn how to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you never learn how to gain back that ability and be in that more freeing, no shape and form type of state of being and stuff like that. You end up making it all stiff and heavy and rough, and it end up making it heavy in your mind too. So it's like emotional baggage and making it a lot of weight you got to carry and stuff like that, because you don't know how to tread lightly as a feather, basically, when it comes to that allegory. Now, this all the way leads to having a mental disorder. Now, like psychosis and stuff, it leads to having a mental disorder. And a mental disorder is just being mentally out of sync and disorganized, distracted, unreliable, unrelatable to yourself and others, or lost into space and time. So you could look at that as being spiritually and mentally lazy slash unproductive, or in a lack thereof mentality, aka you're leaving too much room to think otherwise, which leads to you being a lost spirit. So with that last part, right, the reason why it ends up leading to you being a lost spirit, because it's gonna be you being that lack thereof type of mentality. So you feel like you lost something, so it leads to you being lost, like lost with a T and stuff like that. You don't know if you coming or going. You don't know where the fuck you at. It's gonna lead to like that existential crisis type of mind state and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't even know what was the essential things you needed for your existence. You forget your original substance. You forget your natural natures, because you got lost into something temporary, or you get lost into the external world, or you got lost into something GMO. You get lost into something synthetic. You got lost into the process. You got lost into something that happened after the fact. You know what I'm saying? So you end up losing your ability to be able to create something again, and that's when it started turning into like those people who try to gain back that purity of who they was when it comes to their inner child, but they never know how to get back to that original starting point. That's where that be coming from, because you end up forgetting how you even got to that natural state of being in the first place, and you end up becoming an adult, getting lost into the world and stuff like that, and then the world, based upon society and stuff like that, and the societal pressures and bills and all that type stuff, they be trying to drain away all this energy and stuff like that. But they call it adulting, and they call it, oh, you got to be a part of the external world and stuff like that, when a lot of that stuff is just based upon capitalism and stuff like that, and to try to turn everything into like a monetary gain based upon your creativity, based upon your imagination, based upon trying to prey upon you being your youthful natures and stuff like that, so they can utilize it for their shit because they lack that ability. So it's always going to be like some business-minded suit and tie motherfucker who always want to drain someone else's shit because they can't do it themselves and stuff like that, because they ain't creative and they ain't imaginative, and they got a mental illness and they got mental crushes and they mentally dying and stuff like that. And that's really a whole different video of me going deep about that, but like, yeah. But in general, right, it leads to you being spiritually or mentally lazy or unproductible. So once like you start becoming unproductible and you start being that lack thereof type of mentality, it leads to you leaving too much room to think otherwise, which leads to you being a lost spirit. So a lot of y'all, that's a lot of that where it be coming from. It can come from that bored mentality, or you're leaving too much room to ponder, basically. That's really what I should have said. But like, yeah, you're leaving too much room to ponder. So you're not keeping yourself busy in a sense, and not busy as in like a whole bunch of different external obligations like bills and all that type stuff, like the shit the government be doing to put y'all in a column and stuff like that. It's kind of like you keeping yourself busy with your own creativity, and also you minding your business. And if you're minding your business, that means you have business to attend to. So that's all the way down to you got your own businesses, or you're actually structuring and constructing your own life, because you have a lot of different things going on, because you have a lot of different things going on because you brought a lot of things to life and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of different things. You know what I'm saying? You have a lot of passions. Like you have a lot of dreams or goals you want to accomplish and stuff like that. So you're always on task. You always have some type of business that you have to attend to. You keeping yourself busy, but it's something that's inspiring to you though. You know what I'm saying? It's something that makes you feel youthful. It's something that you actually like to do. You know what I'm saying? So the more you actually put yourself into that mind state, but it's something that makes you feel found. It's like things that you actually like to do. Like it don't even matter if a motherfucker was paying you or not. No, you like, it's like you know what I'm saying? Like you being a free spirit, like you would do it for free. That's what that means. Like you're using your free will for something, but it's something that you already like to do, and it makes you feel like you're productive and creative, and you showing your abilities and your capabilities of something when it comes to like your talent that you want to show and stuff like that. So it's like you taking your power back, but you actually having power and control over what you actually want to do and carry that thing out and carry out that obligation and stuff like that. So it's like your calling or like your purpose or some shit like that. I'm just using different words to make it make sense. But yeah, once you leave too much room to ponder and stuff like that, it makes you so distracted and it makes you so disorganized that you end up not even organizing the things that you're actually passionate about, which is just your creativity, the things that make you feel lively, the things that you feel compelled and found with and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So that shit be true when it be like Like when motherfuckers be like, once people find that one thing that for some reason they can never like it's like that one thing they always obsessed with, that they always feel like they need to include it with their life, and your life is based upon like your mind and stuff like that. So your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. So it's always like that one thought, or that one dream, or that one imagination, that one emotion, that one feeling. It don't gotta be one. It can be an accumulation. But like, yeah, so it's like like yeah, like it's like an accumulation of a whole bunch of different things. It's like, I don't know what it is, but this feels essential to my life. For some reason, I just can't get rid of this one thing. Like whatever goes on in my life, I always want to make room for these specific things in Pacific. It could be a relationship. It could be drawing. It could be like religion or some shit like that. Even I wouldn't recommend that. But like you get what I'm saying. Like it's gonna be like some type of mental crutch. I'm not even trying to say that like it's bad. It's like it's always something that you feel that is important to you. Like it's something that's essential. It's something that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it makes you feel found. It makes you feel productive. It makes you feel pure for some reason. Like, you know what I'm saying? All the way down to motherfuckers who be like keeping certain shit around based upon hoarding, just based upon like nostalgia and stuff like that. For some reason, you feel like it's so important to you though. For some reason, you feel like it's like essential. For some reason, you like, I always need to keep this comfort zone, this energy around me. That's that's really what I should have said. Like a comfort zone. Like you always feel like, nah, I need to always keep this around me because this keeps me level-headed. This keeps me sane. This keeps me, you know what I'm saying, want to keep going. This keeps me motivated and stuff like that. This keeps me inspired. Once you start to figure out what that thing is, that lets you know right there, like, oh, nah, that is a part of like your spirit in some way. Like that has something to do with something that you are like naturally confounded with. And then the minute that shit start getting removed, it is going to lead to that energy I was talking about earlier. You're leaving too much room to ponder and think otherwise, which leads to you being a lost spirit, and you don't know where the fuck you at. You don't know if you coming or going, and you always feel like you're in a lack thereof. You always feel like something's missing. You always feel like you lost something. It could be like a person, place, or thing, bro. Like it could just be like a vibe. It could be like a certain emotion. You just feel like something missing from your life and stuff like that, or you feel like you're unfulfilled. And the minute you try to fulfill something that's outside yourself, because everything is from the inside out, not from the outside in. When you try to fulfill it with something from the external world, it's never gonna fill that void because it's something that's in you, in itself. So, as within, so without, and stuff like that. So it's like the minute you try to take something outside and you try to internalize it and stuff like that, it actually just makes that shit worse. When it's like, no, you have to figure out what's inside. You need to figure out that Pacific space in the astral realm and stuff like that to build yourself up, to create a better expansive awareness or attention span, or build on that character, build on that concept, build on that thing, so you can always create and produce it again in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, that's motherfuckers who got mental disorders. You got a mental disorder, you're just mentally out of sync and disorganized, distracted, unreliable, and unrelatable to yourself and others. So the minute you start being out of sync and you end up being disorganized and stuff like that, it leads to you having those characteristics of when someone needs you, you ain't always gonna be there. The minute someone try to relate and stuff like that, you can do some shit for them, but they never be there for your ass and stuff like that because of well, actually no, it's actually the other way around, where it be like others be there for you, but then like when it's time for you to do something for them, you never there for them. You always make some excuse or like some bullshit. It makes you more spiritually, mentally lazy and stuff like that, unproductible, to where, oh, you just think you know what I'm saying, like what they call that, you want your cake and to eat it too type shit. But like I was saying, yeah, like psychosis just leads to mental illness, which I already explained, mentally dying and having a disease, and mental disorders, mentally out of sync and disorganized, distracted, and unreliable and unrelatable to yourself and others, which leads to you being unproductive or in the lack thereof mentality. So from that feeling of loss, you always gonna be feeling like you won't be able to do that ability again, aka you can't find the space you was at or where you started. So you're always going to be in that loser incel mentality, aka self-projection. So look at the incel mentality like you're in a cell, you're in a mental jail cell. You always gonna lock the jail cell and throw away the key and stuff like that. So it's like a self-projection type of energy. You don't know how to self-reflect right. You don't know how to internalize the energy that you in, and you don't know how to clear up. You don't know how to clear up those mental clouds and stuff like that. Those mental thunderstorms. You know what I'm saying? You don't know how to control your esoteric weather forecast and stuff like that. For the most part, you know what I'm saying? The minute the climate change, the minute you in a bad mood and stuff like that, you end up fucking up and clouding up your whole day. You don't know how to put yourself in a different space to clear up those clouds, to clear that mood, so it can be more in that sunny type of day and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You end up getting clouded up, but like by other people's shit though, by other people's thoughts. And then you don't know how to control your mind. You don't know how to be more mentally flexible. You don't know how to control what you're paying attention to in your awareness and stuff like that. So that's like a motherfucker who always prey upon some negative circumstance and they don't know how to self-reflect right. So they end up self-projecting and they make themselves like a victim or some shit like that because they don't know how to self-reflect right. And they end up self-projecting that onto others of, oh yeah, you're supposed to do this and that for me and stuff like that. Or they make up some bullshit ass excuse like, man, like I would do that, but it's because of this and it's because of that, because of this, because of that and stuff like that. No, it's just because your ass don't know how to self-reflect and then that's it. Like, damn, like you can't blame everybody else for your goddamn problems. No, you have to take care of your own energy. You have to take care of your own mind. And not everyone can read your goddamn mind. Get the fuck on somewhere. But like, yeah, so that's like you being lost in the mind, flesh, and slash or the external world. So it's like what I was saying before with like the whole mental crutch shit and stuff like that. You can get lost in your mind, you can get lost into the flesh, the physical, or you can get lost into the external world. And the minute you get lost into one of those things and stuff like that, see, this is really going to go into a different video about reincarnation and stuff like that. You're never going to learn how to be born again. You end up getting lost into an illusion or a delusion based upon distractions and getting lost into the external world or getting lost into something synthetic, something that's temporary, something that's already going to die out. And you don't know, you don't understand the space that you was in based upon your creative abilities, your productivity, your state of being, your natural state of being, and not figuring out your subconscious standing, aka the substance of who you are and things that are important and essential to you. So you have to learn how to not get lost into the external world. And once you not get lost into the external world, you don't get lost into the flesh. So that's like the body. So that's like getting lost into physical pleasures and stuff like that. And once you learn how to rise above that, you don't get lost. You have to learn how to not get lost within your own mind. So your own concepts. So you have to learn how to let go of certain mind frames. So it's the same way how you probably thought one way 5 years ago, but you don't think the same way now. So that lets you know you was going through that process of what I just said. Those thoughts that you had 5 years ago when you was a teenager and stuff like that, when you become an adult, you're not going to be having those same thoughts because you're not in the same circumstance and you're probably not even in the same space and you're probably not in the same location either. You know what I'm saying? You probably don't move. You know what I'm saying? I had a whole bunch of different experiences and jobs and stuff like that. Probably went to college, like a whole bunch of different shit. You have to learn how to let that shit go too, cause like I always be saying, your first body is your mind, and then that mind sentience that you end up bringing to life, it ends up condensing into the flesh, which makes your physical blood, adrenaline, and your organs and your veins and stuff like that to make what your physical actions and what your physical organs is doing and stuff like that. So just in general, yeah, like when you end up dying, you can't take none of that shit with you. You can't take none of these external things with you. None of that money, none of that physical, fleshly shit. Man, none of that. None of the fleshly fluid. None of that. You can't take none of that monetary gain. You can't take nothing from the physical. You can't take none of this. It's all gonna be gone. It's dead. So you have to let all that shit go, bro. Let all that shit go so you can get back to the spirit, go back to what's essential to you, which really ain't no shape and form at all, but it's your particular way when it comes to your atmosphere, in a sense, your world, and how your observation point from what you experienced and what you went through. So once you understand that, your spirit is just your observation point of what you experience, and you're just emanating thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. And thought forms and feelings and emotions are just different shapes and forms that you're trying to experience, which turns into a mechanism and a process of how you got materialized into the flesh, because you manifest and materialize. You manifested men and women. Men would be thoughts and ideas. A woman would be feelings and emotions. Your Adams and your Eves, your daytime, your nighttime. You know what I'm saying? Your dawn till dusk, the whole process. The whole mechanism, the whole process, just like the sun and the sun cycles and the moon cycles and stuff like that, the celestial bodies, the heavens, and then you understood your eternal heavens, the things that make you happy, you trying to make things possible, but from your subjective point of view and stuff like that, based upon your soul. You know what I'm saying? Through that mental resilience and your soul's journey, based upon what you observed, you have your particular perspective because that's what you went through and that's what you observed. The thoughts and ideas, feelings and emotions, and the physical experiences, and you let all that shit go, and you was able to create a circumstance to do it again because that's you believe in something beyond yourself. But yeah, other than that, right? Psychosis leads to hallucinations, which is just a sensual experience of something that does not exist outside the mind. So that's basically like you getting lost into the body, into the flesh, or the external world, aka you're not having common sense. So common sense is just being sensitive to the senses, or you understanding the common mentality behind something. So it's like listening to your intuition in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Like you listening to your intuition and you making sense out of something, but you're able to make it make sense in reality, and you're also able to make it make sense within the mind because your mind is just based upon attention span and awarenesses and stuff like that. And if you're aware about it and you have some type of know-how, that means it's something in existence just in general. So even if it's not something in the external world, right, it's something like that based upon the essence and the substance. Otherwise you wouldn't even know what the fuck it is and stuff like that. There's something like that out there in existence. So that basically start to turn into like mythical creatures and stuff like that, like dragons and stuff like that. There is some existence like that out there. It's just not materialized into the external world. But the minute you get lost into an illusion or hallucination and stuff like that, right? That's like you getting absorbed into the external world or the body or the flesh and stuff like that. So like this, like the shit like schizophrenics and stuff like that begin into. They get so absorbed into the external world or how they think something's supposed to be, they can't tell what's reality and what's not. So they like a fanatical ass person and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like they live in like a fantasy world to where it's like they get so lost into the fantasy, but they don't know how to relate it to the external world of them being in the physical. Because you in the physical now, motherfucker. Like you in the present right now, motherfucker. Like yeah, there is something like that, but you're getting so lost outside of this world and this realm of reality. You look like a fucking crazy person and shit like that. You don't know how to be practical. You don't know how to be logical. You don't know how to be rational. You don't know how to make it relate to the external shape and form and shit like that. And you end up getting so lost into that world. You end up having hallucinations and you basically like a walking crackhead acid trip ass motherfucker without even taking no LSD. You didn't even take no fucking you didn't even take no ecstasy yet. Your ass already tripping, bro. You already on some you already on some euphoria shit. But yeah. So all those hallucinations and delusions just cause confusion. So based upon that confusion, you just confused and lost into the world and stuff like that. And you lost who you was because you getting so lost into the external world. And it's really that simple. So having a lack of sentience in your psyche leads to psyching yourself out of things and makes it harder for you to commit, conclude, aka finish things up or follow up on things, which turns you into a person who lacks responsibility, accountability, and taking initiative, aka having a lack of being a spiritual adult and not being able to grow and learn from your experiences, aka look at it as like self-sabotage. So from you being under psychosis and you being all deranged in the mind, I'm gonna get there though. That's really, bro, that's the next thing. The next thing I'm about to go into and stuff like that. Like the different psychopathic behaviors that come out of being in psychosis and you being lost out your goddamn mind and stuff like that. But just in general, right? Yeah. Like you having that lack of giving life to your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, but actually playing it out though. So manifesting and materializing. You actually making your dreams become a reality. Right? So based upon your visions and your imagination and stuff like that, we can't read your mind. We can't see what that is, but you actually trying to put in the work to actually make that dream a reality, to make it actually what it is. But the more you're able to make it in a perspective based upon creativity, so you're able to create a circumstance, you're able to create that that sentence, you're able to give it life, you're able to create that passion. Look at creativity beyond just like drawing and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? That's like you creating a concept. You having like some big ass ideas and stuff like that, like really imaginative, and then you're able to go into the deep details of how you want to go about it. So that's like being a creative director, or like a music producer, or like a filmmaker, or like a motherfucker who end up making the first table, or like you know what I'm saying? Like observations based upon what work based upon you know what I'm saying, like when motherfuckers who end up being writers, and then they end up making a book based upon their perspective. You're creating something, so it's like you creating that idea, and then you actually playing out that feeling or emotion and playing out that idea and stuff like that. So you know what I'm saying, like based upon creation, okay, we got created because we in existence and stuff like that. So if you exist, that means you're an entity out here in existence, so you have your own mind. Otherwise, you wouldn't be emanating. You can't. There's no such thing as you can just get rid of thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. You always have different mind states. Now, based upon what your spirit is doing, is just observing those thoughts. So you can choose. You have the free will to choose to act on those thoughts or not. You can either make it come and go. So that's what happens when you be meditating, or you can act upon those things. It's just when you overwhelm yourself and you start overthinking because you having too many thoughts and too many feelings, and you ain't putting them in sections. You ain't compartmentalizing them. You ain't mentally organized. That's why I broke that shit down with being having a mental disorder. Oh, you're too mentally all over the place. You too mentally disorganized and stuff like that. You're super out of sync and stuff like that. You being too spiritually lazy. You're leaving too much room to ponder. You're leaving too much room to think otherwise. You're leaving too much room based upon you being bored, and you're not trying to actually like write some shit down. You know what I'm saying? Write some shit down like a esoteric to-do list to make sure, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this thing done. I'm gonna get this passion done and stuff like that. So you don't know if your ass coming and going. You end up being foolish and falling for everything. But I'm gonna get to that though. But point being is, yeah, you're gonna be lacking the ability to be a spiritual adult. So you don't know how to you don't know how to grow the fuck up and learn from your experiences and stuff like that, because everything is based upon knowledge and wisdom, and knowledge is knowledge. So you always gonna know and be aware about stuff, but once you gain that wisdom and learn how to be a wise man, it means you start to learn from your experiences based upon what you know, and you don't do that self-sabotaging thing. So once you self-sabotage, that's like you having like, that's like you blue balling yourself and stuff like that. You know, based upon insight. You know, based upon intuition. You know, you sense something was weird. You know, you sense certain energy when it comes to this, that, and the third, and you probably can't explain it. You probably can explain it, or you probably don't see it being played out in reality yet, but you do be sensing that shit. And a lot of that can be saving your goddamn life. You could end up being a shootout and stuff like that. And you end up moving the right way at the right time at the right angle to where that bullet end up missing your ass and end up hitting your partner or hitting somebody else and stuff like that. Or end up hitting that car or hitting a particular part of your body and stuff like that that wasn't vital, and you end up living and getting away from that circumstance and situation and stuff like that. So it's like, yeah, all this is about saving your life for real. So like everything is like a mechanism. I mean, all of it itself is like a mechanism. So mentally, you was already in that space. Even if you like the minute you end up in a certain circumstance and stuff like that, is either based upon randomness or you already was down that train of reasoning and stuff like that. You was already vibrated on that frequency. You was already in that state of being, that state of mind and stuff like that. So look at that as like somebody who always thinking about death, always thinking about dying. Okay, you're going to end up manifesting, materializing a situation where you actually probably going to end up physically dying or get into a car crash or some shit like that. You was crashing out in your mind and stuff like that. See, that's why it'd be important to know who around you is and stuff like that and stuff like that too. Because even if you was thinking like that, it could have been someone around you who was thinking like that, and based upon y'all creating that space together, that atmosphere, and putting these things out here in the air, because you always emitting and you always gonna have that little aura around you and stuff like that, right? You know what I'm saying? Like we're emitting these things, and you're making like an atmosphere. You're making like an aura from you even being in that state of being in the first place. So from you being that aura and stuff like that, it's like you making like a what they call that shit, like an invisible shield. You know what I'm saying? You're making like an invisible shield. You're making like an essence. Like you're making like a vibe. You're making like a vibe. Like damn, like every time I'm around this person, I feel this vibe because it is that third. It could be a positive vibe. It could be a negative vibe. It could be a spontaneous type of vibe. It could be an aggressive type of vibe. Regardless, you're making that aura, that essence. You're making like the vibe. You know what I'm saying? You feel the substance, you feel the vibe of what that is and stuff like that. So it's like you already kind of creating that for yourself from being in that state of being, and that's based upon what you're paying attention to, and you start attracting that energy around you from you paying attention to it so much. So if you're concentrating on it so much, eventually you're going to end up attracting that shit to you. So if you always paying attention to negative shit, you're going to attract a whole bunch of different negative shit. If you paying attention to positive shit, you're going to attract an abundance or a positive or progressive circumstance to where something can go more in your favor or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So if you always going against your first intent, if you always going against your first intent and you always be in that lack thereof mentality and you always be into self-sabotage and stuff like that, right? You end up manifest and materialize all those different circumstances and stuff like that. You never finish what you started. You had that first intent for this certain passion and stuff like that. And in a minute, it start going down that process and stuff like that, you end up spooking yourself. You end up getting scared. You end up making an excuse. You end up procrastinating. You end up doing, you know what I'm saying? It could be a multitude of things. You end up having a mental illness. You dying something out. You never finish it out. You end up blue balling yourself. So it's the epitome of man. It's literally the epitome of you end up getting scared of your own potentiality, and that's really all your spirit is doing, just in general. It's because from you being with God, aka all possibilities, you're gonna try to live with God. So you're gonna try to create a circumstance to where you're gonna try to make it possible in your particular way of how to do it and stuff like that. So that's like you being the walking star, celestial body and stuff like that, and you're able to tread lightly and you're able to make things heavy and condense it into reality. So that's like manifest and materializing. So the minute you start going against your intuition, or you start going against your instincts, and you start going against um uh your first intent and like your intuition and stuff like that, right? And the minute it start going in that process and you end up spooking yourself out and stuff like that, all you're gonna do is manifest and materialize circumstances where motherfuckers end up doing that to you, or you end up never actualizing your potential and stuff like that. So that's how it leads to motherfuckers who end up getting old as fuck and they start self-projecting onto you, like aunties and uncles and grandmas and grandpas and all that type shit, because like the kids who coming up and the teenagers and the young adults and stuff like that, or like your mama and your father a lot of the time, your own family a lot of the time, where it be like you actually acting out your potential, you actually acting out the potential of what you say you was gonna do, and you don't care what it take. And then your own family be hating, but it's really them self-projecting because they never got the chance to do that because they made up a whole bunch of different excuses based upon life and society and stuff like that, to where to why they felt like they couldn't do it for the most part. And then eventually they end up getting too old to where that shit, like, bro, that shit too late and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They'll probably be like, man, I had to end up sacrificing certain things to raise this kid. That's why I couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Because I always had to put food on the table because of this, that, and the third. And you know what I'm saying? I always got to pay this bill. I was responsible for this obligation. I had to help out this family member. Or I had to do this. Or I had to switch jobs. Or I had to move here. I had to do that. That's why I couldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, bro, your life ain't goddamn over. Your life don't goddamn stop just because you had a fucking kid because of this, that, and the third. It don't even got to be about kids and stuff like that. It's literally like the epitome of y'all be letting the external world and like the government, or like what they put out based upon Lionsgate and Walt Disney and Warner Bros. Or what it means to aspire to actually be successful in life, when success don't got nothing to do with money. A lot of time it really has to do with the result of something being better than what it was before. So that's like a thought and idea being played out. And as long as that thought idea actually got played out, that's a success. It can lead into money, but money comes and goes. It's temporary. The thing you need to be paying attention to is, how can I make this last longer when it comes to my passions and stuff like that? Like, oh, I was able to build sentience and life enough to this passions to where I have the connections and I have the construct, I have the whole thing planned out, the whole thing structured, the whole thing is built up enough to where I can kind of just do this in my own pocket, and I have people who can support me do this passion, do this in my pocket, because I done built up enough to where I'm successful at it. I made a better result than what I did last time, to where I can make it bigger, to where I don't even got to work a 9 to 5. People are wanting to see me do this thing for what I'm actually passionate about. So that's like me being a content creator and stuff like that. Oh, I end up being a content creator long enough, and I end up not stopping. I kept going for that thing long enough to where I end up getting monetized, and I end up getting a whole bunch of different subscribers, to where I have an actual fan base and support base and stuff like that, to where I don't gotta work a 9 to 5 or any other miscellaneous job and stuff like that, and I can just do this, and this shit gonna support me when it comes to my material success and all that type of stuff. Even though it's not about that, it's really about, oh, I can keep doing this passion, and I can have more time to put time towards this, because this is what I actually like to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, being under psychosis and losing your mind and stuff like that, these are like different psychopathic behaviors, which are like big things. So some of them are little things. Some of these are like small things that lead into big things, or big things in general that make you get too absorbed by playing out these certain actions and processes and mechanisms and stuff like that, that make it harder for you to get out of that space so you can create another space that's way more productive or way more freeing, and not based upon some type of mental crutch, or not getting lost, or not you know what I'm saying, and not actually acting out your potential, and you always in that self-sabotage and loser mentality and stuff like that. You learn how to be a winner every once in a while. Even though life in general is not about winning or losing, you're always going to go through the different ups and downs, but you don't go through the extremes of, oh, you always in the win perspective, so you end up getting lost into an ego because you always want to win and you never want to lose something, you never want to sacrifice something, and you never get lost into the loser mentality, the incel, mental jail cell, the lack thereof. I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of that. Victim mentality. Because of this self projection. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. But all right. So boom. First one. The different psychosis and psychopathic behaviors you can get lost in. Now, being all over the place and unpredictable, aka people who don't know if they're coming or going and forget the starting point to why they do what they do. So it's like what I was saying before, you never conclude something, right? And then you never even remember the original starting point, the first intent to why you did it in the first place, because you got so lost into the monetary gain or the validation or the lust or the love or like whatever and stuff like that. You end up getting lost in the process of the things that come after the fun, of things that come after the fact, based upon a monetary gain, that you end up losing the original creativity or subconscious standing, the substance to why you even do it in the first place. Number two, being unstable and insecure. So if you're unstable, you're just being unbalanced and having insecurities. Now, when it comes to you being insecure, insecurities are just insecurities. So if you have an insecurity, right, you can look at that in two different ways. Insecurity is based upon, okay, you have an inner security system. So it takes a lot of different locks and codes and gadgets and, like, you know what I'm saying? A motherfucker got to really plan out the blueprint, the main script of how to rob your ass, how to take your power away and stuff like that, because you have such a strong shield and sword. You have such a strong ring camera. You have a strong security system to where if they try to break in, you're going to see that shit. You know what I'm saying? You set up different booby traps and all that type stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's really like a spiritual thing first. And then you make up different mentalities of, oh, you think a motherfucker got you, but you was able to manipulate the situations to where it can go in your favor. So that's when manipulation is good. So you was able to manipulate the situation to where you was able to detect certain energies because you sensitive to the senses and stuff like that. And you was able to pick up that intuition and let out certain templates just to see how a person gonna react and respond. If you act out in this nature and you all like, oh, okay, this motherfucker only acting like that because I got this around, or you only acting like this because he think I'm just a dumbass motherfucker because of this and that third. Nah, I caught your ass. I know what the fuck you doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit like that. So it can, like, yeah, insecurity leads to having an inner security. So you have a lot of security built up and you have a whole bunch of mafia boss security guards and stuff like that. So motherfuckers can't just get through because they have to go through a million fucking security guards. Or you being insecure as in, a person is able to get through your security system and they can clearly tell, clearly detect, and are clearly aware what you're not secure about. So, like a motherfucker who's unstable, aka being unbalanced, or they're insecure. Now, I'm talking about this insecure as in insecure, like how most people apply insecure. They have a lack thereof of a security system. And you can clearly get aware, clearly detect, and clearly tell what they're not stable about and what they're not secure about. And you're able to clearly point that shit out because they have no strong standing there. And you like, oh yeah, this motherfucker just insecure about this. That's why they acting like that. And in the minute they start pointing that out, they start acting all fucking erratic and stuff like that and start self-projecting and start being a victim mentality when in actuality, they know damn well it is that. All right, so next, insanity. Insanity is being lost in a specific shape and form. So, like a mental crutch, but like a weak mental crutch. That's only temporary. That's going to come and go. And relying on it. And, yeah, and relying on that mental crutch to stay sane until it becomes dull and weak. So even at one point, right, you know what I'm saying, just to maintain your sanity, you use that mental crutch to help you with a couple situations and stuff like that. But the minute you start relying on it too much and stuff like that, and you put all you know what I'm saying, you put all your eggs into that one basket and stuff like that, eventually it's gonna become more dull and more weak and not as strong the first time you was swinging that sword, and the first time you was defending yourself with that shield, so you could protect yourself to where eventually that whole thing end up getting fucking destroyed. You didn't use that shit too much. It's dull now. Oh, this portion of the video got deleted, so I'm gonna just re-record like this one little tidbit that ended up getting cut out for some fucking reason. But yeah, falling for anything and being foolish. So it basically just means being delusional. Alienation and isolation and lacking the ability to move beyond your ego and atmosphere. So that just means like going through an ego death. Even though y'all be looking at ego death like kill, steal, and will, and prevail and conquering and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Ego death just means, oh, you ain't thinking about yourself all the time. You're able to think something beyond just yourself, beyond your world, beyond your realm, beyond your atmosphere, and you're able to put it into other people's atmospheres and stuff like that, and teamwork, meta-teamwork concept and stuff like that. So that alienation, that isolation, it just makes you get caught up in your own world and stuff like that. And you never to see something, you know what I'm saying? You don't gain more sentience. You don't gain more awareness outside of your own thoughts and feelings and stuff like that. And then you end up getting diluted into some fantasy realm like Mabel Pines or some shit from from Gravity Falls or whatever and stuff like that, to where you want the world to work in your way of going about it and stuff like that, when the world don't work like that. Life in general, it do not work like that. You know what I'm saying? You have to try to adapt, adjust, and make it changeable to what's going on, and making sure it's more relatable and in sync, because eventually it's not going to be relatable to nobody else. It's only relatable to your ass. So that just leads to you being self-serving and never being of service. It's like a jump roping type thing, spiritual jump rope. You have to jump in and out. Oh, sometimes you have to do something that's self-serving, and sometimes you have to actually try to help someone out who actually has that lack of awareness or lack of the ability to do something, but you know how to do it, so you try to help them out. So you being of service. Getting caught up in psychological operation psyops. So it's basically like a covert or overt campaign designed to influence the emotions, motives, objective reasoning, and ultimately the behavior of governments, organizations, and individuals. So based upon a psychological operation, that's like an objective. So you be on spiritual missions and stuff like that. You be having objectives that suit your spirit and suit your space. You want to show off your talent. You want to show off your capabilities and stuff like that. You want to show off your creativity and stuff like that. You want to show off your imagination. So that's basically all that is, a psychological operation. You're going to use your mind to actually try to take over and you try to utilize your mind to actually take initiative and be the executive producer of the whatever objective you try to initiate and assert and accomplish or stuff like that, right? And then based upon that psychological operation, you're going to program your mind into thinking into a certain way, shape, and form, so you can program your reality, so you actually get some type of attention for it, and then people get attracted to your program. People get attracted to the world that you created, your atmosphere, and your way of going about it. So the minute they start being in your fantasy and your imagination and stuff like that, they're inside your space. And it's basically what, you know what I'm saying, like what actually nourishes and feeds your soul and stuff like that. And then other people can be a part of what's a part of your imagination, because you was able to make it something so big that was beyond just yourself and stuff like that, because you showing off you're basically showing off your charisma and your creative abilities and stuff like that. So it leads to how y'all be looking at sops and reality and stuff like that. Oh yeah, the government is throwing sops on people and stuff like that to get emotional arousement and do chaos magic on y'all and stuff like that, right? Based upon what the government is doing. The government is just a governing mentality. So whatever the government is doing in the Constitution and stuff like that, they just have a mentality of how they want to govern things. Okay, you do that with yourself, with you trying to govern your life to play out in a certain way, and then you end up having that motivation, you end up having that inspiration, you end up having that you know what I'm saying? Like you want to actually have that adrenaline to accomplish your goals and stuff like that, because you're governing your mentality to think a certain way, and it's going to go from your first body, your mind, your mentality, and it's going to go into the flesh and stuff like that, and it's going to play out through your actions in the external world and stuff like that. So to make it mad simple, you're programming your mind to think a certain way so you can make your own imagination and fantasy, and you want to make it a part of the world and affect others when it comes to that, and then people in reality, when it comes to the government and different nations and stuff like that, they be doing that, and the working class citizen and civilization that they created for themselves and stuff like that, based upon some type of culture or the lack thereof of culture. They made that government system to make it work into that shape and form and that geographical location and stuff like that. And then the next one is madness. So madness is just a high temperament mood applied in a negative slash lower octave, aka you're easy to rage bait, irritate, or anger to the point of having a lack of self control. So you being a high temperament, that's like you being intense, but you being intense and you letting it pop off. Oh, this motherfucker getting heated up. Oh, this motherfucker is hot. They spicy. They enticing and stuff like that. Oh yeah, they big as fuck. Oh, they the most hottest thing right now, the most relevant thing right now, the most current thing right now. You know what I'm saying? That's like being in a high temperament. You know what I'm saying? Having a lot of energy, having a lot of passion, having a lot of spontaneous enthusiasm and stuff like that. But when you apply that energy into a negative aspect, it starts to turn into madness. Okay, it starts to turn into anger and aggression and impulsivity and having a lack of self control and stuff like that, because you're so enthralled and you're such in a high temperament and stuff like that. You so mad, you so angry, you so heated and stuff like that. You start burning through reality and stuff like that, because motherfuckers gonna feel your passion, they gonna feel your fire, they gonna feel your vision to the point you can barely even get control of your vision, you know, burning everyone around you and stuff like that and destroying the whole thing, because that's how that fire energy be playing out in the in the physical realm and stuff like that. And then the last one was depression, which is just deeply pressed under deep rest, aka soul sleep, compressing, condensing, contracting, and inclusivity and stuff like that. So when you have depression, you're deeply pressing against something and you're under deep rest. So it's like soul sleep. So the whole thing itself is like a mechanism, and it's beyond just being melancholy and being sad. We actually play out depression when it comes to condensing something. You know what I'm saying? So that's like manifesting and materializing. When you're materializing something, you're condensing something based upon what you're trying to manifest for yourself, manifesting men and women. So based upon that process, when you try to condense it into a shape and form, and you try to put it into a container based upon attention and attraction, oh, you're trying to attract that energy. So the minute it starts to attract and ends up condensing, and you end up putting that mentality into a container, aka the mind, and it's going to turn to the physical and stuff like that. That's it going through a depression stage. It's going through a condensing stage. It's going through a contraction. You expanding your awareness, and then you condense it into the mentality that it was in, and now it's starting to get materialized into the flesh if you start to pay attention to it long enough and giving it enough life to where it's going to start getting to a mature state and start getting more old and outdated, aka it's starting to turn into the physical shape and form, because it's based upon birth, life, and death. And birth is like the spirit, and then life is like the mentality, and you giving it life, and then death is like it condensing into the physical shape and form, and then life is like it condensing into the thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. But yeah, like I was saying before, like the sad and melancholy version would be under deep rest, aka soul sleep. So you putting your soul to sleep, your individual space to sleep, you putting your spirit to sleep. We never see your spirit. We don't see your essence. We don't see we don't see your individuality. We don't see you acting out in existence. You know what I'm saying? We don't see your subjective point of view. We never see your perspective. You know what I'm saying? We don't see your perception and stuff like that. And then you probably have a lack thereof of perspective and perception, because you don't even want to share it, because you always want to keep it hidden or unseen or behind closed doors. You never want to share your abilities or your observations and your experiences and stuff like that. So it's like you putting your soul to sleep. You're not being creative, and you end up making yourself spiritually lazy, and you always put your spiritual backing in the back seat, and it's never in drive and stuff like that. You let Jesus take the wheel type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you let Jesus take the wheel. You let someone else take the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the epitome of you let someone else dictate your life when you create it. You should be creating your own life and stuff like that. You should, you know what I'm saying? Like, you should have your own, man, what's the word? You should have the free will to fight for what you want to fight for type shit. Not let someone else fight your battles all the time type shit, to make it like mad simple. So that leads to depression. So you being deeply pressed. So you being deeply in rest, aka soul sleep. So we never see your individual space. We never see what you're capable of. You always let someone else make your capabilities in their favor, into their favor, and your ass always dead and sleep and stuff like that. You rather just be in the background. You rather just be shy. You never learn how to be initiative. You never took initiative for your own life and stuff like that, and you let that always be in the esoteric back seat and stuff like that, and basically everyone is able to get all up in your spaceship and stuff like that, and put graffiti up and all that type shit, and just, you know what I'm saying, like just able to do whatever because you have a lack of self-respect or a lack of self-esteem, to make it like mad simple, which also leads to you being inconclusive, right? Because you rather be in a depth or pay attention to low-hanging fruit or things that are temporary instead of things that are eternal and everlasting. So from you not being able to finish that mechanism and finish that process and stuff like that, you rather just leave it inconclusive. You rather just never finish what you actually want to play out in existence in some way, shape, or form for the most part. So like, you know what I'm saying? Like you end up self-sabotaging. You end up making it inconclusive. You never you never end up finishing what you started. You never actually played out the potentiality of what you would actually do if you was in certain scenarios and stuff like that. You never tried to make the likelihood of being like something. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the epitome of you not being yourself. You'd rather let someone else show you how to be yourself instead of you just being yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the epitome of like you like scared of yourself type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you scared of your own possibility. Like you scared of your own ability and stuff like that. You end up spooking yourself out because you scared of like it not going out in a certain way and stuff like that. When life in general is about up and down. Life in general is literally about up and down. So it's never always gonna go in your particular way how to go about it. But the more you know how to balance it and you learn how to pivot, even if it don't go in your particular way of how you imagine it in your mind and stuff like that, the more you're able to actually have the willpower, able to go further, go the distance with something than somebody else and stuff like that, because you don't get caught up in the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? You don't get caught up in a specific way how to do it. That lets you know you actually a current ass motherfucker, and you don't pay attention to low hanging fruit, and you never stop going. You never, you know what I'm saying? It's like a spiritual mission. You never stop the mission. You never stop the first intent. You're gonna keep going with it, which leads into being deranged. So you have a lack of range, creativity, awareness, intent, and meaning and reasoning for the most part. So yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier. Oh, you have the lack of range, and you know what I'm saying? Your awareness don't go that far. Your intent don't go that far, or you end up losing the original intent or the original meaning and reason to why you even did it in the first place. So you end up being deranged and shit. Fear is being lost into a sphere of reality. So you end up getting caught up in someone else's world. So you could look at that as you get, you know what I'm saying? Like when motherfuckers get lost into fear and stuff like that, they can have an anxiety or they end up getting nervous because, oh, they're going to experience this and they don't know what's going to happen. So it's you being spooked out about something that's hidden, that ain't even happened yet. So that's you getting caught up into an atmosphere, a sphere of reality. That's like a world. So you can get caught up in a certain way of thinking. You know what I'm saying? A certain way of thinking or a certain thought form. Okay, a thought form is a certain shape and form, so you get caught up in that thought form's world and stuff like that. So that's like like what Christians be doing and stuff like that. Oh, they look at Satan like some red-skinned, horn, evil being and stuff like that, and they don't want to act out certain natures because that's going against God and it's going against the Bible and stuff like that because they indoctrinated and that's what they read, and Satan gonna get them and stuff like that. So they fear God, they fear deity, they fear a deity, and they fear this, that, and the third is going to happen to them because of them being in that sphere of reality and stuff like that. You getting lost into someone else's creations. You acting like your ass ain't a creator and you can't create your own way of how to see it and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You just getting caught in bullshit again. Now, and that leads to stress. Stress is forcing something that should come naturally by worrying too much, aka making it too tense, which leads to life/mental disruption. So you being too distracted by the stresses of your life and you trying to force something instead of letting it naturally be just in general. So like it's like you being taken away from your natural state of being because you're trying to force something and you're trying to be like something instead of just being yourself. So it's like being a virtue signaler or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You get caught up in being a virtue signaler and you end up stressing yourself out and worrying about some bullshit because you want it to go out in a particular way when life don't even work like that. Paranoia, being voided into things beyond your comprehension, aka having anxiety about things which are unknown, hidden, and mysterious to you. And then the last one, bipolar, having two opposite extremes which are unbalanced. So it's like what I was saying before. based upon you being in life, you're gonna go through the ups and downs. If you bipolar, that's like two opposite extremes. You only want to get caught up being in that high and being happy, or being expressive, or being real productive, or you want to be caught up in that low. So you go through the extreme lows. You get extremely depressed. You get extremely suicidal. You get completely caught up into mental crushes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You get completely stagnant. You get extremely anxiety and stuff like that. You get extreme paranoia. You get extremely into fear. You get extremely stressed out and stuff like that. So the minute you don't know how to make it more balanced, man, that's the same thing with like astrology and stuff like that. When it comes to sister signs. So like I'm a Taurus, and then my sister sign is Scorpio. So that's my opposite sign, right? So from it being opposing, that's like my adversary. So we do the same thing, just in completely opposite ways. So I need to learn how to understand the Scorpio energy, just in general. So once I understand the yin to my yang, you know what I'm saying? It's like a yin and yang. When you don't know how to be balanced, and you don't know how to balance out your yin and your yang, is either you're going to be yin and everything has to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was about to say that wrong as fuck. Is either your yin and you always caring about the internal, or is your yang? Everything got to be about the external. You never learn how to, you know what I'm saying, jump rope. You don't know how to spiritually jump rope. Oh, yin, yang, depending on the circumstance and the situation. Yin, yang, left, right, up, down, up, down. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know how to live in a process. It's either, oh, we all the way up, or we all the way down. We're all the way up, or we all the way down. We right, or we left. I'm going to come out of left field. I'm going to try to be right and try to help everybody and be a part of something. You know what I'm saying? Like the up, down, the polarity dichotomy mindset and stuff like that. Y'all be looking at shit like polarities and dichotomies. You get caught up in one and stuff like that. So you like, oh yeah, it's either this or that, black, white. You know what I'm saying? It's like a dichotomy type of way of thinking. When everything is like a process, it's like a mechanism. No, you're gonna need both. Everything is like a mechanism and stuff like that. No, you're going to need the whole process itself. Oh, sometimes you're going to be yin, sometimes you're going to be yang. Sometimes you have to care about the internal, sometimes you have to care about the external. Sometimes you have to act off emotion and feeling, and sometimes you have to act off practicality and logic and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And then, getting back to your psyche, which is really you getting your power back and aiming to become reborn again based upon your organs, your brains, and awarenesses. And I already explained that earlier. When it comes to all your different organs are like different brains, which leads to different awarenesses. So it's based upon rationality. Once you gain rationality, that's you having a strong mentality of being able to recognize a consistent rate of how much something occurred and stuff like that. So once you rationalize something, you can see the rate of how much you're able to do something again, or the rate of how much you're able to see something being played out, all the way down to the external world when it comes to the scientific method. And they be doing things based upon empirical evidence, right? So they do things based upon, oh, how much do we see that same thing happen over and over and over, and how can we control it to make sure it keeps doing that same thing over and over and over again. That's why they'll make that technology to make sure it worked for a long time, so it keep doing that same thing. And yeah, based upon rationality, right? It's just you having a strong mentality of being able to recognize a consistent rate of how much something has occurred. So your rate of being able to recognize the certain rate of how much certain thing occurred, and you doing that on the highest or the lowest scale. So you're able to see that based upon the external world. You're able to see that based upon the flesh and certain habits you be having and stuff like that. You're able to see that based upon the mental world, and being able to be more mentally flexible. And then you also able to see that in the spirit world, aka the space you in, able to put that into many different spaces. So a lot of things be playing out in reverse and stuff like that, based upon us being in the physical and stuff like that. But the more you're able to see how much is able to play out in the spiritual world and stuff like that, right? You're able to put yourself into that space of, oh, on a lighter shape and form, a lighter scale, there is something like that. And how can I make this a part of the external world, even if it's not showing up in a lot of different rates? And that's when you're able to have a lot of information, or have better awareness, or have a better intellect, or have more creative ability to create another lane or another pocket that can be fulfilled, of being able to play out something or make sense out of something based upon you being sensitive to the senses, which leads to you being psychic. So When you be psychic, you're sensitive to the senses and having high levels of common sense or the common mentality or common instinct and intuition, and being able to tread lightly in areas which are hard to gain clarity in. So it's like you taking things that are unseen and things that are clouded or things that are shady or things that are darkened up, things that is hard to see, and things that we can easily be blinded by, but you're able to broaden it up. You're able to lighten it up. You're able to lighten the load. You don't make it as heavy. You know what I'm saying? You're able to be more creative. You're able to be more mentally flexible and stuff like that. You're able to be more independent, free flowing in that arena and stuff like that. And you're able to make a more clear sky, a clearer atmosphere, which already adds to your own atmosphere and stuff like that. So that's like you expanding your attention span, your awareness about something. So based upon you being psychic or sensitive to the senses and stuff like that, you're able to see it beyond just the physical, and it don't take you to physically taste it. It don't take you to physically hear it. It don't take you to see it with the naked eye and stuff like that. You was able to sense that shit coming a mile away just from, you know what I'm saying, understanding common sense and the common mentality. And the mentality is based upon the actuality of the different men and women, masculine and feminine, the atoms and the E's, externalizing, internalizing, providing, supporting what is being provided. The father, the mother, the direction, how to support that direction, how to care for it, how to nurture it. Perceiving, receiving. You know what I'm saying? Dick and balls. You know what I'm saying? Being muscular, built as a man, having a womb, condensing it, putting it in a container. Thoughts and ideas, feelings and emotions. The whole thing is a mechanism. So the more you're able to actually play out that mechanism, but also make it more relatable and make it more sick and stuff like that, it makes it so you can have that psychic ability, or you're able to gain intuition or gain insight or have that lighter awareness to where even if you don't see it in reality, you all like, man, I'm picking up this vibe from this person though. You know what I'm saying? Or like, I don't even think it's really that. In a spirit realm, or how it play out in existence and stuff like that, like the overall existence is really like this, but how can I make this make sense in reality in so much of a form, which leads to the rationality and stuff like that. And then, and then you end up, like I was saying before, because I kind of already explained this, right? How you regain, regain, like, you know what I'm saying? Regain your psyche and gain back your psych abilities and stuff like that. Also, it being you not getting lost into the external world, you not getting lost into the body, into the flesh, you not also getting lost into your mind, and you was able to let those things go and let them pass. Because those things come and go, and your spirit is your space, and you create these things, you observe these things, and you really just birthing these things, you're emanating, and you want to play out these different shapes and forms in the physical, and you have to give your ability to believing in something beyond just yourself, to where you're able to create something again, and you end up being reborn, aka your spirit, your you know what I'm saying, the existence of who you was is able to still play out and stuff like that. So they even play out in reality and stuff like that of that's like your grandma passing or something like that, right? And people remember the memory of who she was and what she created for herself, which just add more sentience to who she was, and it's probably not gonna come back in the same mentality. She ain't gonna come back in the same mentality, and she ain't gonna come back into the same shape and form, but she will come back because she observed and participated and created a lot of things while she was still here in the flesh. You get what I'm saying? And she didn't get too lost into the external world, into the flesh, or into her mind state that she was in when she was here and stuff like that. She was more lost into the essence. She was more lost into the substance, the character of who she was and stuff like that. So that's like acting out in good character, and look at that as being expansive, being progressive, and not getting lost into a pocket of time, not getting lost into a specific shape and form, because everything is based upon that space, which is just your spirit, the time, which is just your mind, and then what matters to you, which is just the flesh. You know what I'm saying? The physicality of it, the materialization of what you're trying to manifest for yourself, and then that's it. You know what I'm saying? You end up gaining back that consciousness. Not even consciousness. You end up gaining back that creativity, that productivity, and you believe it is something beyond yourself to where you know you're going to be able to create that shit again. So even if that shit came and went and stuff like that, or it didn't go your way, you able to let that shit die off, and you all like, man, I'm gonna be able to do it. It probably ain't gonna come back the same way and stuff like that, but I bet you I'll be able to do it again even better, man. It was probably meant to happen like that because of this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? I get that shit back, even though I went through this setback, or I went through this shortcoming and stuff like that. I'm gonna be able to make it go in my favorite, just in a different pocket, just in a different time, and a different awareness, and a different way of applying that wisdom, and then that's it.